Last time, a mere clip show gave us deep character insights. Surely the show itself can maintain that level of quality too, right? 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 Goku squares off once more with Si Xing Long. Goku is now Super Saiyan 4, and Su is now gold instead of red, and yeah, I'm already coming into this annoyed that the strategic heat element present in the first half of their encounter has been removed, as I thought that made for a compelling action sequence. But, I'm sure this new paradigm can capture a creative spark in its own way. Goku admits that Su has the edge on speed. Well, there's something that puts Goku on the back foot, something he'll have to overcome. He can't even hit Su with his Kamehameha, and that's because Su is just that fast. No, wait, it's because Su reveals that Goku momentarily pauses when he readies a Kamehameha. He cups his hands in a special pose and slowly names the attack syllable by syllable. You're not wrong, but this is hardly a shocking revelation. We've kinda just accepted that this is how the technique works. This isn't the smoking gun you think it is, and certainly didn't need to be laboriously explained. And yeah, I know, glass houses. They end up in a ruined building and Goku fakes Su out by using his reflection in a mirror. That's awesome! Good strategy! I love that! And in fact, it's apparently a good enough strategy that it could allow Goku to end the fight right here. But he doesn't, because he says he owes Su for sparing Pon's life. Okay, that's not terrible. It's a little short-sighted, sure, but we like to see our heroes doing good. Then Su follows up by saying it's because he doesn't kill women and children and blah. That's especially frustrating to hear in a series like this, one that almost always puts child warriors front and center. It's just more of Morishita doubling down on his Titanic syndrome, where we have to treat Pon as a delicate maiden to be rescued, rather than a character with strength and agency. If you're going to treat her like a helpless baby, Dragon Ball GT, then set her up as a helpless baby. You decided to set her up as a plucky warrior, so treat her like a plucky warrior. How condescending can you get? Plus, it makes Goku's decision to become a Super Saiyan 4 even more ill-advised. Hey, if you had just stayed a kid, it turns out that Su couldn't have killed you, apparently. Now that would be a strategy I could get behind, if Goku just rubbed Su's own rule right in his face. But of course, Goku's not going to do that because he's being written exactly the same way as Su in this story arc. This is here because it's setting up the whole honor conceit. Right in the middle of everything, Goku's and Su's fight is interrupted by our next evil dragon, Si Xing Long, or 3-Star Dragon. The show reveals that San is the one who had taken out Giru and stolen the Dragon Balls. San and Su are identical, but opposite. Su is fire, San is ice. And more importantly, Su is honorable, but San is dirty. Here we go again. This conflict of philosophies was inevitable because, frankly, this is what the entire arc has been leading up to. Even in my comments up until now, I've seen people raving about Si Xing Long, saying that, if nothing else, he at least has some complexity. This, at least, is the high water mark of a fairly mediocre storyline. But I just can't agree. For me, this is where the storyline bottoms out entirely. Frankly, I don't think Si Xing Long is complex. I don't even think he's honorable. He's just an idiot. And so is Goku! Strap in, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, it's time for a rant. Now, throughout the arc up to this point, I have made it a pointy point, to point out whenever Goku says something stupid about his enemies supposedly fighting dirty. That's because it keeps cropping up, and that's clearly not an accident. It is the thematic glue holding the entire story together. Goku is an honorable warrior engaging in honorable combat, and his enemies are deceitful tricksters who will do anything to win. Until Si Xing Long, that is. Now Goku has finally met his match, his equal. You can just feel the love in the air. Now they can be insufferable sticks in the mud together. But this is a tried and true staple of the genre, so you can understand why Dragon Ball GT uses it. Two warriors meet. One is good, one is evil. The hero might not respect the villain's motives, but he can at least respect the villain. They live by the same code. They might even have to team up on occasion, but watch your back. It's good stuff. However, I have never seen a story mangle it as badly as this, to assume the payoff without earning it. And that's for two reasons that have dogged this entire arc. Its embarrassingly simplistic and often random view of honor, and its complete lack of thought in the conception and characterization of its villains. Let's start with the former. As you know, Goku has been driving me crazy this story arc because he complains every time a villain uses a move he can't immediately counter. He refers to this as fighting dirty. If that is the baseline for what we're considering honor, we're in really big trouble already. Now, I don't want to say that honor is a concept that is easy to define, nor do I want to criticize Dragon Ball GT, a show primarily aimed at children, for not capturing all of its complexities. Honor is a very broad concept, one of paramount importance to our values and actions. It's not to be taken lightly, which is why I'm underscoring this discussion with the gravitas it deserves by talking about it over an image of Worf from Star Trek in a mud bath. Honor is often defined by the mores of the culture or the morals of the individual. After all, what often makes life so complex is that we all tend towards certainty that our actions and beliefs are correct. We have faith in our own belief systems, and on the occasions that we choose to break them, we can easily convince ourselves that doing so is for the right reasons. But when others do it, that's dishonorable. We can see this phenomenon at play just by staying within the confines of Dragon Ball. When Vegeta and number 18 have their highway fight, number 17 invokes Bushido, the Japanese culture's way of the warrior, used here to ward off the others from interfering. Basically, he is saying that it would be dishonorable for them to gang up on number 18 because she and Vegeta have already agreed to a one-on-one fight. And when Trunks breaks that imposed rule to save his father, number 17 steps in, which leads to everyone else jumping in. There are a lot of conflicting motivations at play here. Piccolo and the others are, ostensibly, although their track record speaks against it, trying to save the world itself from an evil menace, which could be argued to be an honorable cause. Vegeta is picking a fight in order to prove how strong he is, which is usually considered dishonorable. But his motives aside, his goals are aligned with the more noble aspirations of the heroes. The artificial humans set rules of honor and conduct because they see this as simply a personal challenge to be answered. Once the contest is decided, they stop the combat. However, the heroes see themselves as the heroes and the artificial humans as the villains, so they don't even stop to consider that their adversaries might actually adhere to a code of conduct. They view this as a showdown against ruthless foes to decide the fate of the world and act accordingly. The ends justify the means, and Trunks acts out of a misguided sense of desperation. This one sequence shows how different interpretations of honor can lead to conflict and how that can be used to tell a story. I say all of that because in all of that, the definition of honor isn't Goku gets to win the fight. Frankly, it pains me to have to come down on this side because if you've watched me long enough, you should know that I'm dying for Goku to adhere to some kind of honorable code, rather than just doing whatever results in the most fun for him, mass casualties be damned. The example I just listed of Vegeta being dishonorable for fighting to prove his own strength is explicitly part of Dragon Ball's code of conduct for martial artists. But nowhere in the Muten Roshi's speech does he say that certain types of attacks are inherently dishonorable. Dragon Ball has always been very inventive with its fighting. Characters, especially Goku, experiment with new ways of getting the upper hand all the time. So why are pollution and body possession suddenly fighting dirty? But if you've seen the other videos I've made in this arc, you've already heard me say all of this. Suffice it to say, Goku doesn't seem to have an ethos beyond, if I'm doing it, it's right. If you're doing it and I don't like it, it's wrong. And while that can make for an interesting story if that hypocrisy is examined, Dragon Ball GT says it with its full chest. Instead, let's take a look at Si Xing Long. He does indeed espouse ideals that could be and have been considered honorable. They are at least a set of principles he is not willing to break. For example, there's the earlier assertion that he won't kill women and children. The problem, well, a problem, is that these end up being platitudes. Just like with Goku, he'll talk a good game, and the story will assure us that they're both in the right, but what does it actually mean in practice? What makes Si Xing Long honorable? Well, the story sets up an easy way to gauge this by introducing his counterpart in Si Xing Long. Su is honorable, San is dishonorable. So if we compare the actions of the two dragons, maybe we can find our answer. Okay, when San first shows up on the scene, Goku is furious because he sees that San has beaten up Pan and taken the Dragon Balls from her. "How dare you do this to Pan?" Goku says. Alright, so beating up Pan is dishonorable. Wait, but beating up Pan is exactly how Si Xing Long was also introduced. Literally the first thing he does is to knock her unconscious. In fact, Pan is still barely conscious when she returns for this scene, so San actually seems to have left her in a better state than Si Xing Long did. That's why Pan has to suddenly be recast in between dragons as this helpless baby, because the show has to force this idea that fighting her is wrong so that it can insist on this characterization it hasn't earned. I'm not even sure San lays a hand on her, though. When we see Si Xing Long for the first time, all he does is take the backpack of Dragon Balls. Yeah, he beats up Giru, but nobody seems to care about him anymore. On closer inspection, Pan's clothes are a bit roughed up here, so either San did nothing to her, or he straight up tortured her for absolutely no reason while she was unconscious, which would admittedly be pretty horrible. Given that wide a disparity, a little conveyance would be nice. I'm pretty sure I know which one the story wants me to think, but it requires me to both buy into their premise, which is lacking, and notice a minute clothing detail on a character I last saw 2 episodes ago. Because, again, what I take away from this is that Pan is looking better than the last time I saw her. She was unconscious, now she's just a bit woozy. That communicates much more strongly to me. So, what is Goku supposed to be offended about here? Pan is beaten up because she was already beaten up. You saw it happen, Goku. Your buddy did it. But you didn't care then because the show was writing this as the honorable dragon doing it. So, Su is honorable because he doesn't kill Pan. San is dishonorable because he also doesn't kill Pan. I'm struggling to see a significant difference here. But wait, you say, there's that moment later on when Si Xing Long uses the again unconscious Pan as a human shield. What a terrible thing to do. Yeah, wow, that is pretty dirty. What a jerk. What a coward. I wouldn't want to play laser tag with him. Granted, he mostly does this just to disprove Goku's boast that he can beat San in 5 seconds. Hey, turns out you couldn't. Pretty badass, honestly. Look, I'm not trying to defend Si Xing Long, but using Pan as a human shield, bish, I've seen that before. I've seen it taken much farther. I've seen a dragon pretend to give up before. I've seen villains undeniably torture children before and be treated by Goku with more respect. San's not even as dirty as the dragons we've already seen. But yeah, he is a villain. So is Si Xing Long, supposedly. San uses his ice powers as a sneak attack? Well, Su pretends to be the sun to swoop down on Goku, Pan, and Giru. But it seems we're sweeping that under the rug because, rather than hype up how uniquely bad San is, the show is suddenly trying to make Su out to be a hero. Which is weird. San can use his freezing powers to encase Goku in ice. As an aside, it's worth pointing out, at least it is to me, that this ice is more effective than Special Hell Ice because Special Hell Ice sucks. Anyway, Goku gets frozen twice. The first time Goku gets out of it because Si Xing Long betrays San and melts the ice. Seriously, there is a difference between wanting to be fair and just straight up forgetting why you're even here in the first place. God, this guy is so dumb. Yeah, he wants to defeat Goku himself, but come on, Goku and Pan have been taking on individual dragons as a duo this entire time, and no one's ever treated that as dishonorable. If Goku snatched another victory from Pan, and she reacted by sabotaging Goku and helping the dragon, would that be standing up for what's fair and honorable? Or would it be acting out of petty selfishness? Si Xing Long is just an intensely stupid person. Don't believe me? The second time Si Xing Long freezes Goku and is about to kill him, Su cries out, "For Goku!" Su isn't an honorable villain. He's just on Goku's side now. I don't know why he is. That story has not been told. It certainly doesn't match the Si Xing Long who was stalking Goku through the Hate Vernon building. But anyway, it's not as big a deal as Su thinks, because Goku just breaks out of the ice with no trouble at all. And that brings me to something that requires me to pivot away from this topic for a second. Goku says he escaped because once he's been subjected to a technique, his body memorizes it, and he puts up a ki barrier. I can barely begin to describe just how much I hate that concept. To be fair, this isn't new. In the last arc, Goku says something similar to Frieza and Cell, that once he's seen or hears of a technique, it's of no use against him. That's stupid and incredibly convenient. Goku should be impervious to punches by that logic. He's a martial artist. He's not the Borg. I sure am thinking of Star Trek a lot in this video. We want to see our hero overcome challenges, not just flip a switch and activate the win condition. Where's the fun in that? Where's the drama? What are we supposed to be caring about? Let's compare this to an almost identical scenario from real Dragon Ball for a minute. Yeah, I just went there. Come at me. In the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, Goku fights against Tenshinhan. Tenshinhan realizes that Goku has surpassed him in raw strength and speed. However, Tenshinhan has a new strategy. He uses his Shishin no Ken to split himself into 4 bodies and overwhelm Goku. Eventually, Goku challenges Tenshinhan to do the exact same thing again, the same maneuver that had almost defeated Goku, because he realizes he can counter it by pinpointing 2 weaknesses in the technique. Tenshinhan is too reliant on his eyes, so Goku uses the Taiyoken to blind all 12 eyes. And with them blinded, Goku can capitalize on the other weakness, that the technique divides each individual Tenshinhan's strength by 4. That is how you overcome a technique. That's something we can understand, something we can be impressed by. That's strategy. This is magic. Goku's just immune to being frozen now. Okay, let's start weaving this all together. San Xinglong and the narrator constantly assert that San will do anything to win. San insists that winning is the only thing that matters. And yeah, you know your story's going great when the show has to have characters insist that's the case, rather than actually showing it. As we've seen already, what GT is showing and what it's telling are often at odds with each other. In this case, though, I kinda agree with San. The characters in that Cell arc example believe their actions are justified because they're trying to save the world. That makes this different from a one-on-one match. Goku understands the difference between the two. As far back as the 22nd Budokai, he states he fights differently when he's in a match versus when he understands his opponent is trying to kill him. Now, obviously, that definition can stretch within the parameters of the character. Ma Jr. is trying to kill Goku, but Goku still wants to win the match. He will do foolhardy things in pursuit of that goal, but only up to a point. That's why I don't buy this. All the elements of honor that the characters are espousing in these situations are perfectly fine for a tournament match where the goal is to test one's strength and skill, where there's nothing more on the line than the winner of a contest. Here, the Earth is at stake. Here, the characters are fighting to the death, and they know it. From the perspective of the villains, the heroes are coming here to kill them and take the Dragon Balls that gave them life. I certainly believe the heroes are in the right to do what they're doing, but you can't expect the villains to just roll over and agree to rules that would place their very lives at a severe disadvantage. It's ridiculous to even suggest it. San is right. Winning is the only thing that matters in this duel, and Su is a moron for helping Goku. If the villains accept anything other than winning, then their lives, the entire concept of their existence, are forfeit. If the heroes accept anything other than winning, then the entire planet is doomed. Maybe the entire galaxy. Winning is the only option, and they all know it. The stakes are simply too high. There's no room for compromise here. Or is there? When Goku finally bests Si Xing Long, San begs for his life and offers Goku the ball. Su intercedes on his behalf, confirming that Goku only needs the Dragon Ball. Goku agrees to this and tells San to go somewhere else. Go where? Do what? Can he survive without a Dragon Ball? Can this be done? Well, we'll never find out. Just like with Xing Long, this is all a trap. San never had any intention of handing over the Dragon Ball and uses the distraction to blind Goku. And just like with Hu, this is throwing away any opportunity to explore what an evil dragon even is. This ends in Goku killing Si Xing Long because of course it does. What would we do with him otherwise? The show doesn't want us asking that question. But it's important because what these evil dragons are, what they can do, what they need in order to survive, what motivates their actions, would define for us why they do what they do and who they are as characters. If we knew who Si Xing Long was, we could understand why he's so insistent on maintaining a personal code. If we knew for sure that Si Xing Long needed his Dragon Ball to survive, or even what the Dragon Ball means to him, we could understand why he'd wager everything on a risky last-ditch effort even after Goku had promised to spare him. Those are things we need to know if this story is going to work. And that brings me to my second problem, that there is seemingly little thought put into the creation of these villains. And that's something we'll have to tackle next time. Don't go anywhere though, I have something to say. Dragon Ball Dissection December! Yeah, it's already that time of year again where I put out 5 new Dragon Ball Dissection videos for the month of December. It's our annual tradition of merriment. As always, new videos come out on the 4th, the 11th, the 18th, Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve. And $10 and higher patrons get access to each one a week early. This year we are bringing down the curtain on Dragon Ball GT. Yes, we are going to make our way through the final battle of the arc and the series against Si Xing Long. We're going to be covering the beloved and divisive ending of the series. And yes, we are going to be talking about the wishes that made the dragons and the theories that go along with them. But as I said, we're going to be starting with my deep dive on the evil dragon's characterizations, or lack thereof. It's basically the second half of this video, which means that part 6 of the Evil Dragon arc is also part 2 of this particular topic. Yes, I've gotten to the point where the subdivisions of my divisions have even subbier divisions. I suppose this was inevitable, wasn't it? Can I create a Dragon Ball dissection so complicated even I can't understand it? We shall see. I hope you will all join me for Dragon Ball Dissection December 2024.